Hey, everybody, time for another episode of the ShopNotes podcast. It's episode number 207. You got the usual suspects here, Phil, Logan, and John on today's episode. We're going to go through readers' comments. Of course, we're talking about woodworking in America. We're going to look at project tools and more. All kinds of fun stuff here, and we may even dip into some German woodworking. So you want to stick around. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you want to give us a contact, send us an email, woodsmith@woodsmith.com, or put a comment in on the comment section on our YouTube channel. You'll be able to find us there as well. Special thanks to our sponsor for today's episode. You want a glue that you can trust, and fortunately, Titebond has the glue you need to get the job done with confidence. From interior glues with strong initial tack and short clamp time to exterior glues with exceptional strength and water resistance, look to Titebond, the right glue for your next project. For more information, visit Titebond.com. All right. I've noticed that Titebond is also sponsoring the Fine Woodworking podcast, Shop Talk Live.
They are.
And Ben reads the blurb for that one, and he does it in a way that's totally different from me, which is kind of interesting. So
different cadence. It's like like Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning.
Maybe.
Omaha.
Could be that.
Omaha.
He's putting emphasis on different syllables.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly how he does it.
Yep.
Yes.
Makes sense.
All right. The last episode had a handful of comments. We were talking about tool buying, just to refresh your guys' memory on that. You know, like where do you spend money on a tool, and where would you save some money and go with a discount version of it. So handful of comments. Kevin Thomas, 8991, says, one of the best things for new woodworkers would be to join your local Woodworkers Guild. We have lots of first-timers that join us in Kansas City. They have an ability to check out various tools that the Guild has. And I think that's a great idea, too, is being able to see other tools. And that's and work with them, because I don't think that's not as easy as it used to be. You know, like you can't, like there's no place that just has a bunch of tools that you can try out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the more local networking you can do, the better.
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned.
So then TG Atkins says, if I have a dust extractor plugged into the tool, I don't see a reason to spend more on the cordless version. I still have a hose being dragged around, and the cords are easily paired, connected to the hose. I was glad to hear Logan mention the battery line. That has been a major consideration over the years. When I first started, I was given tools from different companies and even different battery lines. I had so many battery chargers, I just didn't have room to keep them all going at once. It's been so much better being on a single battery line that I can keep a few batteries charged. When a battery dies or gets low, I can just go over in and pop a fresh one in and keep going without being stymied by not having to wait for the correct battery to get charged. When it comes to floor tools, I do try to follow the buy once, cry once methodology, but still within a budget.
Yep.
Tim Passmore, well, yeah, again, but that's the buy one, cry once, but there's like hidden within it, like the little asterisk where it's like, but you still can only, you still have a budget. Yeah. Tim Passmore says, wood turning is my passion, so I bought the best lathe that I could afford. On the other hand, I bought a $9 corded Harbor Freight variable speed drill to power sand my pieces, and it lasted me 8 years. I just replaced it with another Harbor Freight drill. My tool purchasing decisions are based on how often I will use it and how precise, accurate does it need to be, which is also a good thought on that, because you know, if you're using a drill to power sand, and you do this too, Logan.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't
with a Harbor Freight drill.
With a Harbor Freight drill. So there you go.
Yeah.
Bony Board Woodshop says Makita makes corded and 2 different cordless track saws, 18 volt and 40 volt. I have the 40 volt cordless, and it has plenty of power to rip through 2-inch slabs like butter.
Yep. I have used it, and it will cut like 2 and 11/16 deep. Like, it will cut through a
That's
full
pretty...
2.5-inch piece. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Feed the Chunk says, when comparing tools, one thing I take into account is imperial versus metric. If you buy tools that are made with the metric system in mind and you live in an imperial world, I feel like that was a song, Living in an Imperial World.
I think so.
I think we call those freedom units.
Freedom World?
Yeah.
You need to take that into account. I find it most annoying in dust collection. Trying to adapt metric tools to fit imperial tools can be a challenge. This is something that should absolutely be considered. I don't know that it's necessarily between imperial and metric, because I feel like when it comes to standards for dust hoses, there are no standards.
Nope.
Like, somebody uses an outside diameter, somebody uses an inside diameter. They're picking whatever fraction they want to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Kind of like the Woodsmith designers.
Yes. We're on our own system.
Right. Yeah. Where did you get that hardware?
64ths.
Yep.
Yeah. Michael Bamonti says, I've been very happy with Harbor Freight's Pittsburgh hand tools since Craftsman no longer honors anything purchased from Sears. Power tools are a different story. I use Makita because the quality is good and I can get spare parts, something Harbor Freight is lacking in.
Mm-hmm.
True. And I think there's something to be said there too about whether you want to be able to repair a power tool.
Yeah.
And if that's something that you want to do yourself, or if power tools, especially portable power tools in specific, but we'll get to something with Logan coming up about like shop machines. Like, are they essentially disposable? Driver 111 says, hey guys, this question's for Phil. Can't make it to Woodworking in America in person, but I'm extremely interested in his seminar on a bandsaw-centered workshop. Can you bother Active Interest Media to record the seminars, or would Phil be able to make a YouTube video about the topic? These are some things that I've been talking about for a while now, so yeah, I think we could probably put something together for a YouTube thing. But that being said, I also feel like I don't want to take away too much from people who are coming to the seminar either. So a little bit of both. We're not recording the sessions except for a couple of sponsored ones, only for this fact of we're just trying to get this thing launched and off the ground. And to keep adding things to that is just going to put us way over the weight limit for lighting this candle.
Yep.
So then Kevin Thomas says, I told my wife that Des Moines is for lovers and she's not buying it.
Kevin, you know what? I'm sure your wife is a nice lady, but you don't need that negativity in your life.
No. Des Moines doesn't need that negativity.
No.
It's all positive vibes here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good vibes only.
What happens in Des Moines stays in Des Moines. I think that's... Des Moines is a great town, and in fall, it'll be beautiful. We have trees changing color already, so...
Yeah, walnut trees are losing leaves and walnuts.
Speaking of, how's your Nocino coming?
So I had actually meant to harvest a bunch of the unripe walnuts. I don't know if you guys remember me telling you when I got stuck in the boom lift.
Right, I thought that's what you were up there for.
That's what I was doing, and I never got them because I got stuck.
Oh.
So next year, there's always next year.
There's always next year.
Well, it's like the walnut trees here. They're too tall. You can't reach the walnuts.
Right.
And I'm not going to put I have climbing spikes for tree work, but you don't do that to live trees. Like, that will hurt a tree. So.
Plus, I mean, for the most part, the walnuts aren't going to be necessarily close to the trunk anyway.
No,
So you'd have to like climbing spike up and then like shimmy
then
your way
top
out
rope,
to the
Yep.
Should have some sort of gathering system from the roof of your shop of all the
I mean,
walnuts that
that's
fall.
that's true because they do well, but you want them before they fall. That's the thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got to get them while they're green.
Yeah, get them like that big. Yeah.
So you just got to put a ladder to get to the roof of your shop, and then do the like cut the little sawtooth in like a laundry detergent thing and put that on a stick so you can just like pull them off and then they
Like
fall
an
right
apple
into-
picker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We have a few drones. I could probably get something to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'd get the kids involved too. So
Yeah, exactly.
it would be a win-win. All right. There you go. Perfect. Now, speaking of tools and whatever, the way that you're sitting today, Logan, for the people who are watching on YouTube, we have a new backdrop for you there.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I'm sitting over here because it's the only clean spot in the shop right now. I have a magazine issue that's going to the printer tomorrow, so like I have my workbench I can't put stuff on. Like there's just stuff all over. But yes, I picked this bad boy up probably a year ago, and it's been in cold storage over on the other side of the shop ever since. That is a 1930s, 1920s Oliver pattern maker's lathe. So, like, if you guys can see, I know the camera's wider than what I can see, but it looks like a weird love child of a metal lathe and a wood lathe. You could like do brass on it, but you can't do any other metal work on it. But I've been kind of cleaning this cold storage side of the shop, trying to get organized, built a giant lumber rack, kind of putting stuff away over there, which is really nice. Good for my anxiety. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm having a friend come over to watch football. I think that I can have my buddy Ryan help me get this into the shop. And somehow I just ended up with lifting it up with the skid loader. I got it on dollies and on a pallet jack, and I just ended up getting it in the shop myself.
All right.
And it weighs close to 1,700 pounds. My skid loader will pick up 1,850, and it was light on the back tires with it on the forks. Yeah, it's much bigger in here than it was out there. Like, it is much bigger in here. And part of the problem is that the drive system. So Oliver would have sold this in two different configurations. One with a motor underneath to drive it.
Mm-hmm.
One with the line shaft pulleys to drive off of a line shaft that you already had existing. This one was sold by the Reeves Fritz company out of Chicago, I think. They bought these Oliver lathes, and then they outfitted them with these gearboxes up top. So it is actually an electric-driven lathe, but this giant, like, camelback thing on the back there is the holder for the gearbox that's then driving the leather belt. That thing adds 2 feet to the depth of this lathe. So it's actually extremely inconvenient. And where I wanted to put it, where I wanted to put it, okay, that's fine. Where I wanted to put it, right there, it sits so far out from the wall that it is like in the middle of the shop. So now I'm trying to decide, like, what really happens with this thing. I'm keeping this thing. Like, there's no question I'm keeping this lathe. Because I mean, I got it from a friend of mine. There's some sentimental value there, you know. It's the question of, do I get rid of the Powermatic lathe now that I have it fixed and I could actually sell it? Do I get rid of that? And then I put this where my Vic mark is, because then the extra depth isn't as big a deal. I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of things need to happen.
Right.
They're not high priority right now. But the fact of the matter is, it's in the shop. I can see how ridiculously large it is. So now I have another layer of anxiety on what I'm going to do with this.
I think I had forgotten / didn't know that it had a cross slide on there, because it's really easy to get distracted by the overhead manual transmission on it.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Because I look at that and I think to myself, like, should there be a clutch on that thing? Like, that you need to like push the clutch in and then pull the belts over? And
it's actually, and the way this is set up, you don't change the leather belts ever.
Oh.
It's always off that one pulley onto the headstock.
Oh, okay.
At least I think. I don't think there's no way to pivot that at all. So it's like, I think it has to be off that. Yeah, that was the other thing is I still have a full pallet out there of tooling for this. There are boring bars. There are cutters for the crossfeed. There's a 3-jaw chuck that's like 85 pounds for it. And the other issue with having it right where it's at, I have the outboard turning stand for this thing.
Oh, okay.
So I could turn outboard. This thing, I'm going to say it would swing a 10-foot outboard piece. So I could literally, I think, put a 4x8 sheet of plywood on it and spin it. I can't do it where it's at, but the outboard faceplate's out there, and that's a 20-inch diameter faceplate. So,
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I have no need for this. I'm going to hurt myself with this. But, man, we're going to make sure cameras are rolling when we do it.
Yeah. I feel like with all of those accessories, you now know what you can do with that wall space behind where the Oliver is, because that would be some cool shop art.
Oh, 100%. That was always why my plan was to stick it here. My plan was not to knock a hole in the wall so I could scooch it a little bit further back.
Right.
But, here we are.
Yeah.
I feel like if you just installed a line shaft in your shop, you could get rid of that whole gearbox. And
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably other tools you could run off the line shaft then, too.
Just run off the PTO of your tractor.
I'm getting rid of the tractor. I'd have to run it off the hydraulics on the skid loader.
Okay.
All right. I mean,
hey, why does your skid loader have 12,000 hours? I run my wood shop off of it. We're doing this Amish style.
special thanks to our sponsor for today's episode. You want a glue that you can trust, and fortunately, Titebond has the glue you need to get the job done with confidence. From interior glues with strong initial tack and short clamp time to exterior glues with exceptional strength and water resistance, look to Titebond, the right glue for your next project. For more information, visit Titebond.com. How far away is that one from running?
Oh, if I wire it up, it would turn on today.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Everything I got from my buddy Norman, is all operational.
Yeah.
Except the drill press I did tear apart. That was on me though. That was not on him. That was on me. So everything I got from him is operational. So yeah, like I don't think I'm gonna touch this thing. I think so. I was kind of trying to pick Norman's brain on this thing when I got it from him. Like, because he had bought it because he ran a pattern shop. This is a pattern maker lathe. The headstock and tailstock swivel 5 degrees in relation to each other, so you can do like tapers and draft angles and stuff when you're making patterns. And I said, Norman, where did you make these? There's riser blocks on here. He said, yeah, I made the pattern and had those cast because they're steel riser blocks. And I said, okay. I was like, I don't think this is factory how this is set up though. And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure it is. I think it wasn't Oliver factory. I think it was like the Reeves Fritz company that bought these tools, kind of souped them up a little bit, and then resold them. But like, if you look at it, the tailstock, headstock, and cross slide are all one color of like old dingy gray, like machine tool gray. The base and that camelback on the back are a very nice like hunter green color. So at some point when you guys get sick of me and I get fired, I'll probably restore it. Like
we'll still come out and film it though.
That's fine. I I don't have any desire to tear this apart and restore it any further than what it is. I will clean it up because she dusty, and it has what are called Babbitt bearings, which is not a traditional bearing. It is basically a pancake sandwich full of lead and tin that gets oiled. They're super tight, but it needs fresh oil put in there. I probably should flush it out with something and get some fresh oil in there. So,
okay,
yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be loud because that leather belt has steel lacing on it. So as it's turning, it's going thunka 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 thunka. It's going to kind of sound like a railroad train running, which would be super cool.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah.
And then you have one other power tool next to you.
Yeah, this was a mistake on my part, I think. Of all my power tools, this little scroll saw. Whoa, hey, there's my microphone. I bought this little Delta scroll saw. It's not a little Delta. It's a 20-inch throat Delta. It's a Delta 40-440, I think. I bought it on Facebook Marketplace. It was restored. A guy had done a kind of he did a decent job with the restoration. But he had it for dirt cheap. Like, I think he had like $150 on it. And I mean, this thing weighs 300 pounds. It's so heavy. So I bought it from him, and it's kind of been over in cold storage ever since. And, it was sitting right in front of the lathe. So I brought this in first, and then I brought the lathe in. And I realized as I was kind of assembling the base and the top together, that he has a lot of parts in the wrong places. So that one actually, it's not a big tool. It's a scroll saw, right? It won't take a lot to get it up and working, but it's just like it's a pain in the butt because I gotta figure out what's in the wrong place, stuff like that. So,
I mean, I don't see you as much of a scroll saw either.
The only thing that I bought the scroll saw for was I'm working on a design for a big tool cabinet behind my bench, actually with one of our former designers from Woodsmith. And my plan is to do big marquetry doors on it. So I kind of had bought it with the intent to do some like double bevel marquetry.
Okay.
But this issue of Pop Wood that's going to the printer tomorrow has an article doing inlays with the Shaper Origin. And it was like, it's so dang easy with that thing that I just might. It's not as sexy and pretty as for photos, doing it by hand and, getting the 7-degree angle right and they fit together perfectly. It's not as cool. But man, it's so convenient and they turn out perfect. Like this nautical star compass rose I did on this inlay, it turned out absolutely perfect. So.
All right. There you go. Shaper Origin versus scroll saw. Send your hate. Put the comments in. Or tell us how to do it with your Shopsmith.
Oh, shots fired. They can't because I don't think they have a scroll saw attachment.
I don't know. Do they?
Oh, maybe. It's not a very good one if they do.
Right.
We do it out of love and misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are just misunderstood.
It's like siblings, where you know exactly how to irritate your sibling, almost without even trying.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. Well, when this podcast comes out, Logan and I will be at the Grizzly tent sale that they're relaunching at their Springfield, Missouri showroom. So we'll be on I don't know, is that the borderlands of the Ozarks right there? Or is that
Yeah, it is. It's the northern tip of the Ozarks.
Right. So it's like we're not fully into Mordor, but it's
the gates, the Black Gate.
Yeah,
the Black
Gates.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little more cheery though than
Yeah.
the Black Gates.
So anyway, if you're there Friday, Saturday morning, come find us.
If you're listening to this in line at Grizzly, come find us.
Yeah, we'll be there. So, let's see what else we got going on. John, what's new in your world?
Just working on some designs and helping with video as usual. So, waiting for the next.
What's the next project you're working on?
I'm working on a drop down desk, like a wall mounted cabinet type thing with a drop down desk. Which is funny because 2 weeks ago I was just telling Phil my 6-year-old daughter was like, you know what? I need a vanity where the front drops down and you can store everything in there and then it folds back up. And I was like, you know what? Maybe throw a mirror in this and it could be a vanity.
Oh, yeah, but that's kind of cool.
Heck yeah.
She doesn't think my designs are cool, so they're lame.
There was I'll have to look for it. I kept a file somewhere of projects that I thought were cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a Danish modern one where it was, and it has a terrible name from the 1960s. I think it's called Young Lady Wanted Cabinet or something like that.
That's been translated from IKEA Swedish.
Yes,
right.
That's what the translation is.
Yeah. A couple of umlauts in there. Yeah. Anyway, I'll find a photo of that. I can send that to you. So.
All right. Cool.
And I'll maybe even put it on the show notes page just because.
Yeah.
See, I have always considered a vanity something with a sink in it.
Yeah.
I get it.
But that's where it came from, actually. So
I know, but I don't know.
You can put a sink in it. Drop down sink.
Drop down. Flexible plumbing attachments on there. Yeah. That's what the PEX is all for. So this thing just keeps getting better and better and better.
Does it?
Yeah. So, and we're a month away now from Woodworking in America. It's starting to be real. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to the meetings to end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the event to actually kick off and just be able to be with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, that'd be cool. There's a lot of people coming in that we know for it. So I've heard from a lot of people saying, hey, I'm going to be there in October. All right, cool. Yeah. I'm hoping I can send Puppy Doc with a sawmill, but he hasn't told me yay or nay yet.
Right. So
get on it, Bob.
Yeah, time to launch the campaign. Put it in the comments section that you really want Puppy Doc to drive home with a sawmill.
Yeah.
That's right.
Also have a new speaker, one of our presenters, Gary Rogowski from the Northwest School of Woodworking out in the Pacific Northwest. He's going to be coming to do a presentation on hand planes, which I think is pretty cool. And then he'll also be doing a couple of demos because he's going to have, not only is he presenting, but he's having, he's got an exhibit space too, and he's going to do a couple of demos during that. One is on his 5-minute dovetail that he does, and also sharpening card scrapers. So I think those will be kind of fun things to see in between as well. And I think that's probably the bigger draw for me. The presentations are super cool, and there's a bunch of them that I want to see. I might have to skip out on my presentation in order to see a couple of the ones that are going on at the same time. But also to just kind of run into some folk in between sessions or after theirs and share ideas, ask some questions, and see what's going on. So want to check that out. Logan's obviously going to be there with a sawmill and doing some demos out in the parking lot, and which I think will still be a pretty cool draw too.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to see if I can send somebody home with the lumber that we cut.
There we go.
That way I don't have to mess around with it.
Yeah.
Yep. Because then we can just use a leaf blower and blow the sawdust just kind of all over the neighborhood, and then somebody else walks away with the lumber on it. So we're also going to do a live recording with a live studio audience for Shop Talk Live in conjunction with Fine Woodworking, where we'll do a Q&A, where we're going to have a bowl, one of the bowls that Logan's turned out on the Active Interest Media table. You have a question that you want to have answered on Shop Talk Live, put your question in the bowl, and we'll pick out random questions and answer them live. So be sure to sign up for that. So now the last thing that I wanted to talk about in today's episode was in the transition of Active Interest Media purchasing Fine Woodworking and the Taunton Press brands. There's been some confusion on mailing. So we get a lot of mail for the Taunton folk here now that the Des Moines office is actually the
home office,
mothership, whatever you want to call it. So came in today was this little title, Holes Workin', which is a German woodworking magazine.
I just don't know what the translation is.
Don't Google it.
Don't Google it.
It sounds very literal.
Yeah.
It's all on the drill press. The holes working.
So the text is all in German, as you can imagine, but the photos are in Esperanto, so everybody can see what's going on. So, but it's always interesting to me to see how other countries, whatever, just have a different viewpoint. Like even in the US, the different woodworking magazines all take different approaches to what we do and how we do it. And what I like about the German one is that they're doing a ton of stuff with portable power tools. Like here, there's an article on kids woodworking. I'll take a photo of it. What we have is a kid using what looks like a drill press, but it's actually just a corded drill in some kind of an armature that has a crank on it to be able to act like a drill press. Not a drill guide, but it's like the drill is in there. So, and there's just there's some really fun articles in here on projects and then also tools and jigs. And like there's this cute little wood. Let's see if I can get that on my camera. Yeah, there we are. Fun little wood block plane.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an Oma block plane.
Yeah. One is a jig for, there was one I was showing John earlier. It's a hand sanding block.
Yep.
Okay. That takes the discs, sanding discs, but you drill it, shape it, drill it so that you can have, that's right, dust collection on your hand sanding block. So
that seems ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's totally German because it's all engineered.
100%. Like over-engineered.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the Festool hand sanding block to come out.
Right. They did a shop-made jig for putting a handheld... Oh, lost the page here. I'll put these in the show notes page.
So who was that? Who was that magazine actually sent to?
This one's for Mike Pekovich.
Okay.
So there's a handheld plunge router jig that to work with track saw track, so you can guide the router using the track saw. I thought it was kind of a cool idea for stuff. So anyway, like I said, it's kind of fun to see how other magazines approach the craft. Like I think in Germany, and you see that throughout the magazine, there's a much stronger emphasis on portable power tools and not as much on stationary tools. Like there's a couple of small shots of what appear to be relatively small band saws or table saws. Mm-hmm. But
and I also like the fact that a lot of the European nations still put a pretty big emphasis on an apprenticeship. Like, I know there are a lot of countries in the UK and in Europe that you cannot call yourself a cabinet maker without having done like the full 8-year apprenticeship type thing.
Yeah.
Where, here, you put a sign in your yard, you can call yourself a cabinet maker, but you can't do that over there.
America.
Merca.
All right. So there we go. I think that wraps up another episode of the Shop Notes podcast. Do you have any questions, comments, or smart remarks? We want to hear about them. You can send those to us as an email, woodsmith@woodsmith.com, or feel free to leave a comment on our YouTube channel and check out all the other stuff that we have going on YouTube, and join us for Woodworking in America. Special thanks to Tight Bond Glue for sponsoring the episode today. It's the glue that we use in our shop all the time. Personally, I'm a big fan of the liquid hide glue, followed closely by Tight Bond 3. But there are a lot of different formulations for you to pick the one that suits your needs the most. Check out their full range. It's at tightbond.com. See you next week, everybody. Bye.